32 Americans die every day in drunk driving crashes. That's one person every 45 minutes. Far more than die in school shootings or mass shootings or any other event politicians and certain cable news networks use to demand common sense gun control.
The most significant piece of anti-gun violence legislation in nearly 30 years.
If we can even save one life, and this will save many more, it'll be well worth it.
So many of my good friends and colleagues on the Republican side have stepped forward, looking at a most reasonable pathway to do something.
As we said, a lot more people die from drunk driving crashes, yet you never hear about common sense alcohol reform until now. National Transportation Safety Board wants every new car in America to come with an alcohol detector. 3 years for the policies to be written, 2 years for auto manufacturers to comply. Not just convicted drunk drivers, but everybody would pass some test before turning on their car. Maybe not blowing into a machine, as you hear, but maybe a fingerprint test. That's big. But remember, driving isn't a constitutional right, so maybe it's not that big as taking away guns. Just think about how many lives that would save. But zero, and I mean zero, cable news anchors are demanding it. Ian Samuels here, former law clerk to Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia and resident on balance scholar. Legal to do this, Ian?
Yeah, I think it's legal, because the device would be implemented in the car. The government presumably would not get access to the data. And after all, the idea would be to stop you from doing something that would constitute a crime. It wouldn't constitute a Fourth Amendment search. It would be something like a safety feature that was implemented in cars during the Obama administration, which is backup cameras, right? Some people don't know that the reason you see those everywhere, every car you rent, et cetera, has one, is because you have to, because it's easier to see a little kid behind your car with a backup camera and it can save the lives of little kids. This is something like that. The agency that's proposing it doesn't actually have the authority to implement it as a rule. They make recommendations to other federal agencies, but they want this. And this agency wants other safety features, too. They want to use cars inside the cameras inside the cars to sort of notice drowsiness. They want, I think, what they call intelligent speed limitations, a.k.a. cars that, basically won't go too much over the speed limit, stuff like that. They have all sorts of ideas for the use of technology to restrict the way that you can drive to stop you from driving in unsafe ways. And obviously that's going to be controversial, but they have lots of ideas like this.
You say it's going to be controversial, but I can't help but think there's this inherent difference between limiting guns, which are explicitly talked about in the Constitution, and while cars didn't exist, there's no Ninth Amendment that talks about thou shalt not restrict my horse and buggy.
That's true that there's not. And I think that the reason it's going to be controversial is not because there's a constitutional issue with it. I don't think that there is, but because the dark truth of the matter is that an awful lot of people drive drunk when they're not supposed to. Now, that's not a good reason not to implement the policy. Actually, it's a good reason to implement the policy.
Yeah. No, it's a great look. If you don't drive drunk, what do you care? It's no different than you have to have a key or anything else. It's just a way you turn on your car, and if it doesn't send the information off to anybody, there you go. Real quick, why don't you think these people who are so concerned with gun violence haven't demanded this sooner? This seems like the perfect way to save lives.
Well, the analogy between guns and alcohol is actually a really good one, because the truth of the matter is people always like to say, hey, guns don't kill people, people kill people. But the same thing is true about alcohol. And the reality is that the United States alcohol policy does get a lot of alcohol into the hands of a lot of people, many of whom have chronic alcohol abuse problems through no fault of their own. And there is a lot of room for reform in the way that we regulate and sell alcohol, and that things like this that are commensurate with that in the United States. But the reason they don't want to do it is very simple. Rich people drink wine, right? And the rich constituents of Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, God love them, they don't mostly have guns. But rich people like to get drunk, and that means that when they're in control of things, they're going to make sure that if they're getting a little tipsy on Martha's Vineyard, they can drive back to their beach house and no one's going to hassle them. That's the truth.
I appreciate you saying Martha's Vineyard and not Nantucket. Ian, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.